DomOGrady. Dom has a fight coming up at the end of February. Tell us about your fight that's coming up.
Fight February 28th for XFO in just outside of Chicago.
All right. Do you know anything about the guy you're fighting?
No. Usually I don't get my matchups till usually a little bit closer. Unless it's like it's a bigger small show, so you know stuff changes, they move guys around. So even if they told me now, it would change 3 times by the fight. So.
Okay. You're just starting to really get to the last part of preparing for it. What are you doing now that helps you get ready and peak for that night?
Well, right now, depending on the time of year, right now what I'm doing is I'm trying to get like a lot of rounds in, do a lot of cardio, a lot of boxing, a lot of wrestling. You know, not so much technique drilling, so much just cardio rounds, going over and over again. In a couple, I think 2 weeks, I'm gonna go down to Chicago, train at Jeff Kern's gym. I'll be there for about a week. Come back, cut weight, and then go back down there for my fight.
All right. How much weight do you have to cut?
Oh, on average, I usually walk around at like 185, 190. I try to get to about 182 before a fight. You know, I can cut 12 pounds pretty easy.
All right. What's your background? How did you get started in combat sports and then MMA in particular?
Started wrestling in high school. Wasn't really that good. Got out of high school, started coaching wrestling. I ended up doing freestyle for a couple years with Misaki Hata in Hazel Park. Met Mark Tripp. Started doing judo. Did that for about 2 years. Then I met Igor Yakimov through him. Started doing sambo. Did a lot of no-gi submission wrestling. That was kind of the thing I did for a good maybe like 2 years, like solid competitive judo and submission wrestling. Started boxing and then started fighting MMA as an amateur about 4 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago.
All right, where was your first fight at?
My first fight was at Kerry Roots in Rochester.
How did it evolve for you? You know, what you started out with wrestling and went into sambo and all the other sports. How besides the evolution of your, I guess, style, how does the transition from amateur to pro go? How did that evolve?
Well, I mean, my game in general has changed since I started fighting. Originally, I was a grappler, by trade. That's what I did. And then I kind of, as my fights progressed, I did more on my feet, more on my feet. And now I've kind of become like a striker, and I can throw. I don't get as many submissions as I used to. I used to be just a submission guy. I'll leave the ground, however I can get there, and then work submissions. Now, I like hitting, I like banging, I like the big throws, stuff the crowd kind of likes. I got about 30 amateur fights. I hung on in the amateurs for a good, 3 years, 3, 4 years. I became the ice welterweight champ, defended that a couple times, and it was actually Monty Cox, one of the promoters, and through the years of fighting there, I got to know him better, and then eventually he became my manager. So now I'm on Team Extreme, which is the team he manages, and like the management team he manages, and so that's where I get all my fights from.
Okay, what did you prepare for your fights? Do you have a philosophy or something that gives you an edge over your opponents usually?
Yeah, I'm not great at any one thing. Like I'm not like a phenomenal striker. I'm not a phenomenal submission guy. I'm not a great wrestler. I'm not a great I'm not great at any one thing. But I think I have enough in each area that it makes me dangerous in each spot. So I can I have a very adaptive style. I may not necessarily be the most explosive starter, but I usually am pretty good at finding ways to win. Like I find holes in people's games, find stuff there. Like basically, whatever you're not good at, that's what we're gonna do. You can't strike, we're going to strike. You can't wrestle, we're going to wrestle.
All right, so you think you're well-rounded enough, or you are well-rounded enough to really go with anybody, right?
Just about, not anybody.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
What's next for you after as you keep moving up in this? You're gonna.
Well, we're looking to this next fight's mostly just to keep me kind of active. We're looking to make a push into the bigger show. I got a decent, I got an 8-1 record as a pro. I came real close to some of the bigger shows. Fights got dropped, fights got moved. So we're kind of sitting on the edge of moving up into the bigger shows.
All right. You got any favorite moments or favorite memories of your favorite fights?
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
What's your? Give us one.
It was before I knew the guys down at Kern's when I fought Russ Jaka, who was kind of their young up and comer. hometown guy, a guy who was supposed to win. He was supposed to submit me. They'd seen me fight before. They were pretty sure that it was going to be like this ground game. He was going to catch me or something. So knowing that going in, I just punched him. I kept him back. You know, it wasn't a crazy exciting fight, but I found out that he didn't have the boxing skills that I had. So that's basically what it was. We'd box. You get inside, I'd throw. I even felt him get in the guard. I stood back up. It was kind of it was a perfect fight, and then it was a strategical fight. I didn't finish the fight. I didn't end him. I won all 3 rounds. You know, it was a decisive win, but it wasn't like the beatdown. It was more of a moral victory. I like beating guys that I'm not supposed to. It's kind of my career.
Yeah, it's always fun. All right, well, thank you very much.